You know, being a small-town girl suddenly grown to a giant size has had its challenges. Well, first there's the problem of being tranquilized, captured, waking up in an underground facility, and having your name changed to Ginormica? Really? And then there's the problem with what to wear. I mean, ideally, you want something that's, well, let's just say very plus size, that's still the least bit fashionable. This is very challenging. Okay, it's hard to get haute couture from the Army Corps of Engineers. All they know is parachutes, really. You know, it's also the little things that have changed, like roller skating, for instance. I mean, I used to just spend Sundays skating through the park, eating an ice cream cone. But since all of this, I suddenly found myself skating for my life. Through a secret underground facility, being chased by a giant robot. With 2 army vehicles strapped to my feet. Big difference, if you ask me. And by the way, that wasn't easy, let me tell you. Not only are those vehicles hard to steer, but they also really pinch your feet. Ow!
Oh, sure. I think when a giant bucket of bolts is chasing a ginormous pretty girl through a vast underground network, that it's your old pal, the missing link, you want to call. Let's face it, I'm the monster of choice. I mean, let's see. Who else you got? There's the big girl with the skates. Didn't even have a proper monster name yet when I met her. There's the guy with the cockroach head. Yeah, that's who you want to call. A guy who has a lot of great ideas, but scatters when you turn on the lights. Then there's Bob. Yeah, Insecto's pretty good in a fight. Oh yeah, he's got the height. I think he's supposed to be about as tall as a Japanese office building. However tall that is. I don't know. But he's also got this awesome sonic screech thing. Yeah, it pulverizes tanks and planes, blows away small towns. Yeah, that's cool. Though I gotta say, his regular voice kind of does that too, so... I mean, it's kind of like nails on a chalkboard, cranked up to 11, if you get my drift. Anywho, yeah. I was totally the guy they had to call to take out Monger's little toy. I just wish somebody had told me there was going to be all that climbing. I mean, I may be part 8, but that stuff's getting a little hard on the old guns after a while, if you know what I'm saying.
Hi. Hello. Oh, sorry. Hey, is this thing on? Okay. Ooh, I remember this part. This is when Insectosaurus was being hypnotized by those big helicopter things. Yeah, wow, that was kind of mean, don't you think? Yeah, because when I'm looking around or something, the last thing I want to see is some guy with a big spinning flashlight on his head going, hey, look at me, unless the guy was a fire truck. Yeah, see, now that makes sense, because you got some fire somewhere and people are going, help, help, and then this guy goes, hey, no problem, I'll be right there. And he turns on his big spinning light thing on his head, and he goes to put out the fire and save all those people. Yeah. What? Oh, except now Insectosaurus is now all totally hypnotized and blocking traffic because this guy decided to wear his big spinning light downtown while Insecto was there. Oh, those guys are toast. Yeah, nice going there, fella. Real smart. Duh.
You know, if there's one thing I've learned, it's never try and fight a giant robot in a missile silo. I mean, look at that thing. It's got lasers and missiles and whatever that big eye thingy is on the front. Hey, did my tax dollars go to make that? If so, I think I should have some say in what it looks like. Oh, I think it should be sort of more sleek, futuristic. And maybe it would talk, like that car on TV. No, on second thought, maybe not. But it could do yard work and maybe car repair. Basically all those things like a really good boyfriend would do. Except with a big on-off switch on its side. That would be great. Oh, and it's definitely not programmed to chase me around and try and zap me with lasers or blow me up. I think that's really rude.
Okay, look, if it was me, I'd probably not put all kind of missiles and exploding stuff inside whatever it is that I was trying to protect, That's me. That's your old pal, the missing link. Call me crazy. Monger and these guys, well, they crammed that giant robot thing full of that stuff. Missiles and lasers and moving platforms and... get the idea. I mean, all that junk is great, don't get me wrong. I'm a guy, I like gadgets. I also like cars, really big cars. I mean, the bigger the better. But, if I had this, like a cherry 1957 convertible with white walls and big tail fins, the last thing I'd put in the glove compartment is a bunch of lasers and missiles. Might scratch your paint job. Now where would you be? Sheesh.
Moving sidewalk things, awesome. Oh yeah, I like those. Because sometimes you're going somewhere and you ask yourself, hey Bob, how can I get there without actually moving my legs? Which is a really great question, except you're not Bob and I don't have any legs. You know, a lot of people ask me all kinds of stuff. What kind of music do I like? What do I like to watch on TV? What do people taste like? And I gotta say, you know, cadet guards really do taste like chicken. Yeah, totally. Of course, that's because they are chicken. Doc thinks that maybe General Monger's mixed in some kind of chicken NDA in them to make them, you know, like more extra chickeny, I guess. I don't know. And Susan doesn't even want to talk about it. She says eating people is gross, but hey, it's not eating them if you spin them back up, right? Blue-ah! Right?
You know, if you would have told me before, Susan, you're not only going to get hit by a meteor and grow to an enormous size, but you're also going to be able to lift 12-ton hydraulic doors, I would have thought you were crazy. Cha! Before this, I could barely make it to the gym. Now I can lift the dirt. Talk about girl power. Hi-ya! And by the way, for anyone who thinks they don't build them tough in America, you try fighting off a giant monster pacification robot in a secret underground silo. It's not as easy as it looks, let me just tell ya.
Obviously, the doc was having some kind of trouble figuring out a way to crater this hunk of junk. That's when he called the missing link in to do his magic. Luckily, even after a few million years on ice, I hadn't lost my touch. I was totally up to the task. Yeah, it's all in the wrist, or in my case, my whole body. Just a few turns here, a few loose bolts there, and abracadabra. Look, Ma, no more giant robotic arm. Anyway, once I single-handedly found a way into the giant monster-hunting robot, that's when it really got interesting.
Oh, what are you talking about?
What? I'm telling my side of the story.
Your side? Your side? Just a moment, let me place a call. Ring, ring. Hello? Center of the Earth? Yes. Could you please send up an enormous grain of salt for my friend here? It appears he is telling a whopper of a fish story and needs it as soon as possible. Yes, thanks so much. Goodbye.
Is that fish story business supposed to be funny, Doc?
Actually, yes.
You know, even though I was really happy to get outside, I somehow didn't expect that I was going to have to fight another giant robot. Oh, and this one was from outer space.
Yeah! Space.
And as if the first time wasn't hard enough, I had another set of cars on my feet. Cars on my feet.
I know! Crazy, right? Feet!
So there I am, just skating around San Francisco, being chased around by some kind of alien who knows what.
Alien? Yeah, who knows?
And let me tell you, those cars were not comfortable.
Not.
On the other hand, they were sports cars.
Right? Pork skin and Piernelli.
Bob?
Yes, you Norm Gedemaka?
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Nope.
Didn't think so.
So, like, if anyone ever asks you what the worst part about having a scientist with a cockroach head as a roommate might be, you can tell them from me, it's the plans they come up with. Oh, and we're not talking about everyday run-of-the-mill common household variety plans. No, it's the king-size, super complicated world domination, no way in the heck is this going to work ever kind of jobbies that I'm talking about. And the names they come up with, oh, this is priceless. All right, so you go around in your crazy bug-headed scientist way, working out some crazy solution to some totally impossible and, let's face it, really bad idea, like how am I going to get and hide all of the missing Link's fish heads so he can't find them? And then after you work out every possible angle on this little gem, you haul off and you name it something completely ridiculous and boneheaded like Plan D. Plan D! Doc's supposed to be some kind of super genius or something, and the best he can come up with is Plan B. Sheesh. Even something like Operation Fishhead shows some kind of snap, some pride. I mean, give me something to work with here. Whatever. I caught him anyway and made him smell Insectosaurus's feet until he started twitching. Nobody naps my fish heads. Just goes to show you, a stupid plan with a dumb name is no match for some good old-fashioned smashing and a pair of really stinky feet. Take it from me, the missing link.
Oh, yeah, okay. This was that time, when I was doing that thing, and she, she did that other thing, and right into that thing. Yeah, that was great,
Bob?
Oh, hi, Doc.
If you're going to talk about your experience in the vast and wondrous expanses within the alien robot, you should at least try to be a bit more descriptive.
Oh, you mean like with a hat and a trench coat?
No, Bob. Descriptive, not a detective. You know, add some flavor to your adventure, old boy. Spice up your story. Why, I myself am working on my memoirs as we speak. My life in words, as it were.
You are?
Why, of course, Bob. One day, my magnificent brain will be in a museum for all to marvel at, and people will want to know. Hence, the memoir. So, Bob, anything to add to your little tale?
Oh.
No need to raise your hand, Bob. I'm right here.
Oh, right, Doc. I do have something to add.
And it will make your story better, will it?
Oh, yes.
You're sure?
Uh-huh.
All right. Very well, Bob. Please, leap out on gossamer wings and trip the very light fantastic to add that crowning verbal glory that will drive home the unique and very poignant message of your story.
Okay. Bunnies.
Bunnies.
Yep, bunnies. Fluffy bunnies. They always make things better. Though I thought all scientists knew that.
You know, I'm not even going to ask.
You know, I gotta tell you, poking around inside the guts of a giant alien robot is no way to spend your free time. Believe me, I was stuck in a block of ice for several million years, I should know. Boy, the doc was real excited about the alien robot junk, though, let me tell you. A little too excited, if you ask me. I mean, once you've peeked inside one of these jalopies, you've pretty much turned off to the idea of any kind of intelligent life out there somewhere. I'm not even totally convinced there's intelligent life here yet. Have you seen Bob? I rest my case. Meat with eyes could beat him in an argument. Sheesh.
Ooh, alien plasma turtles.
That's turrets, Bob. Alien plasma turrets.
Oh, yeah, I like those too. Oh, hi, Insectosaurus.
Yeah, I know, pal. That's what I thought, too.
What did he say?
Just that he thought he saw some kind of artifact in the alien robot that might link life on this planet with life out there among the stars.
Great Scott! That's astonishing! At last! Wait a minute. You're putting me on, aren't you?
Bingo.
You know, you really shouldn't joke with me about science. I'm very sensitive.
Oh, yeah. You're the most sensitive scientist with a cockroach head I know.
Aw, what is it, Insectosaurus? I don't understand. What? The missing link? What's Insecto saying? The missing link! Doctor, why is it the missing link is the only one who can understand what Insectosaurus is saying?
Susan, it's one of monster life's great mysteries, you see. Elegant in its form and deeply profound in its meaning. The missing link and Insectosaurus share a special bond that we've tried to study, but...
You know, if you don't have any idea, that's okay too.
Oh, very well then. Fresh out, I'm afraid.
Yeah, thought so.
It's not like I picked this stuff, you know, mazes, and all crazy surfaces to explore. Hey, I bet you thought I was talking about my nose. Oh, that's a joke. I don't have a nose. I do have a collection of wristwatches, though, still inside me from borrowing all those security guards. I suppose I really shouldn't try.
This part always chokes me up. I know, pal. But how was I supposed to know that? All I knew was you jumped out in front of that alien laser beam. All right, if you put it that way, it sounds better. Okay. Me too, pal. Me too.
I used to look up at the sky and wonder what was out there, and then I'd wonder if what was out there might come here one day, and if that happened, what would I be doing at that exact moment? Well, let's face it, there's no way I could have imagined this. Me, struck by a meteor, grown to an incredibly huge size, and already having done several laps in the mega roller derby of jerky robots, alien and otherwise. I also didn't count on the Earth actually being in danger, or that the aliens were after me for some reason. In any case, I knew I was in for a bumpy ride.
Hello everyone. I'd like to talk about the game design ideas for Monsters vs. Aliens. Starting off, we wanted to follow the movie's plot and highlight the cool tag team formula that is central to the story. In our game's tag team, you get to play as one monster for a while, then jump to another monster while they all work together to stop Galaxy. In the film, there's a scene where the monsters are fighting a giant robot, and we thought this was a great starting point for a fun mission. One thing we really wanted to explore was the robots inside and out. We thought it would be cool to go inside these massive machines and see what made them work. So, a large part of our design was coming up with exciting ways to get inside the robots and destroy them. In this scene, Bob is inside the core laser tunnel of the Scorpion robot. Bob's objective is to get to the generator at the end where the laser fires. So let's talk about Bob. Bob is a really fun character to work with, mostly because of his personality and unique abilities. Obviously, he can eat pretty much anything, which is always fun to watch. On top of that, he's a gooey blob, and this all made for some very interesting design challenges. When we started working on Bob, we first thought that if he walked on the floor grate, he would just seep through. But since Bob can carry pretty much anything inside him, we thought it would be cool if he could cross those grates if he held onto something. This idea was our first step in designing Bob's levels. Next, we talked about vertical grates. Since Bob can see through normal floor grates, we thought, why not the ones on the walls too? This added some new challenges to the way Bob could navigate through the level. We also thought it would be fun for Bob to carry a box over grates, then simply drop it when he wanted to go through vertical grates. We also wanted more cool things for Bob to do while he fought the aliens. The idea of being able to stick to surfaces really seemed like just a thing. So we said, what if Bob could stick to any flat surfaces, even while carrying an object? That sounded fun to us, so the designers started making some new and exciting level designs, using floor grates, vertical grates, walls, and ceilings, all made for very interesting 3D levels to explore. Another cool idea was the double maze. This really pushed the envelope with all the level design rules made for Bob. In essence, the double maze has no easy path through. Instead, you need to find objects, like a crate or an enemy, so that you can cross and pass through grates to finish the maze. This helped us to make some really fun and complex levels for Bob. We also wanted to add some more action-oriented parts for Bob. To solve this, we made the plasma platforms. When Bob is on them, he can generate plasma balls to spit out as projectiles. Basically, Bob becomes a turret. In this particular scene, we wanted you to get to the end and change into Action Bob, using his other skills to destroy the generators.
Oh, crud. Let me talk a little bit about climbing. Yeah, see, one of the unwritten rules of being incredibly awesome is typically not having to prove how incredibly awesome you really are at any given time. And just for the record, that includes climbing. Seriously, next time, get me a chair, or a ladder, or a catapult, a jetpack, an airplane, a rocket, anything. Just please, after several million years of being locked in the ice, let me take it a little extra slow in the climbing department, all right? Jeez.
I always wanted to be on camera. In fact, my mother always said I was very photogenic. But this was ridiculous. Whether I liked it or not, this was shaping up to be the fight of my life. And everything was about to change. How I felt about being different, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and who my friends were. After this, they would never be the same. Now, if I could just shake this giant alien scorpion robot, I'd be perfect.
In this scene, Ginormica gets captured by Galaxar and taken to his enormous mothership.
Attention.
This is the first time we truly see how huge the ship really is. But Ginormica isn't helpless, even if Galaxar thinks so. I mean, she's 50 feet tall. All of this was information we use in designing Ginormica's levels. In the film, there's one moment where Ginormica accidentally steps into a convertible and realizes that she can use cars as roller skates. We took this idea and really emphasized it throughout the chapters. The fun part of large settings like Galaxar's ship is that it's okay for Ginormica to be so tall. We were happy to give Ginormica some really action-oriented levels with a lot of things happening in the world around her. In this level, it was interesting to change from the cars to something that was more appropriate for a spaceship, basically hoverboards. This makes it feel like she's in a really science fiction world, grabbing something made out of alien technology. It's cool because we let her practically fly in the environment while she's still skating.
For a moment, I was transfixed. What had happened to Susan? There was no telling what the aliens were doing to her. Perhaps they had her hooked up to some horrible, mind-probing machine, and were, even as we spoke, draining her precious childhood memories, cackling gleefully and gibbering in their alien mother tongue as Susan's innermost thoughts spilled willy-nilly onto a gigantic screen for all to see. Rather, I knew quite a lot about Susan's childhood and realized that it was about as interesting as stone soup that had been prepared not so much with an actual stone, but a small picture of a stone clipped from an old magazine that had been left out in the rain. Frankly, I think the aliens might have found an insurance seminar more interesting. But that's when I knew these aliens could be beaten. The solution was now clearly within our grasp. We could use the complete and total abject blandness of Susan's pre-monster life to immobilize these advancing extraterrestrial enemy and reduce them to husks of their former selves. It was a good idea, but risky. Dash it! There had to be another way. I pondered. If you enjoyed that reading, then you'll enjoy my new book, How I Did It, by Dr. Cockroach, PhD, available at most reputable newsstands and preferred bookstores.
Welcome back, Bob. This time, Bob is exploring the mothership instead of the inside of a robot. In this level, we're using Bob's skills from earlier in the game. It starts off with the grenade launcher bots throwing grenades that you need to spit back at them, something you've seen already in Chapter 3. The new thing we decided to introduce here is the moving Bob turret. Once Bob steps onto the plasma platform, it starts moving, so Bob becomes a moving shooter through the tunnels of the mothership. We also wanted to bring back the 2D navigational elements of Bob's gameplay, like we saw back in Chapter 1. Navigating in 2D with Bob is really fun for us because we can take an old-school approach to designing levels. We thought it was really funny for Bob to use the living beings, in this case the aliens patrolling the area, as keys to access doors in new areas. This is why we had doors that would only recognize the aliens. We thought it was really funny to grab the key alien, carry them around these puzzles, and then hearing access granted, like Bob is a sort of spy sneaking through the level. That is the heart of our 2D Bob levels. We thought the player should have mastered Bob's skills by now, so it was time for some slightly different challenges. So in this level, we added to the challenge with lasers and moving turrets, making it slightly more complex for the player to safely guide Bob through. This is the scene where the missing link falls off the mothership and grabs hold of an antenna. We did this to give the sense of being really high in the sky and how big the ship is in comparison with the missing link. We also wanted to make sure that Missing Link had some really fun acrobatic elements in his levels, along with the fighting and the platform. One way we did this was by including some really exciting elements like poles that he can swing around. Another part we wanted to add was the floating bumpers. These were really cool because you could have Missing Link bounced all over the place like he's inside of a pinball machine. We had so much fun with this that it's also part of his leap attack, where you start by juggling the enemies into the air after pounding the ground and destroy them with the pinball move. Missing Link was a lot of fun because his character gave us freedom to explore different ways of fighting and playing in the levels. This type of area was really cool because we had Missing Link climbing like a chameleon or a lizard all over the sides of robots. We had a lot of fun designing all kinds of weapons like a surface defense system to prevent intruders from moving along the surface of the robots. We also wanted elements here and there from Missing Link as well. For the puzzles, we added the different colored force fields protecting certain areas. The idea was that we would prevent the player from going to the next area unless they either hit the correct switch or destroyed the right thing that was keeping the force field intact. We thought the fighting on the side of the robot was really fun. The little things like smashing the drones and watching them fall or bashing the turrets are really exciting. So this is the final level with Bob, when he encounters Galaxar for the first time. What's funny is that Galaxar doesn't know what to do about Bob. So his big answer is to put him inside a sort of a cube maze. But we know that Bob's specialty is getting out of weird puzzles. We thought it was really great to have Bob navigate each face of the cube puzzle until he reaches the core of the extraction chamber. The funny bit is that Galaxar thinks this is ingenious, but with the player's skills, we know Bob can make it to the end. All the puzzles in Galaxar's cube need Bob to use every skill he has learned up to that point. We did decide to add moving grates and robots that you need to carry across some of the labyrinth, just to spice up the levels a little bit more. The whole point is that eventually you reach the central core of the extraction chamber where you fight off what we call the Battlesphere. There's a funny story about the Battlesphere too. We really wanted to make a light show for this big boss fight. And, here in the office, we ended up calling the Battlesphere the Disco Ball instead. Our little light show of lasers. This all takes the player's skills to a new level because you really need to use your shield based on the laser patterns. But once you destroy the Disco Ball, you're also destroying the core of the extraction chamber and freeing Ginormica. This level was really interesting and funny to design. A really cool ending for Bob. Now we are at the final scene with Ginormica. Since Ginomica has been fighting so many large robots, it made sense that she had one last fight with Galaxar. He's now parading his own personal robot from the inside. Just when you think you're free, Galaxar shows up and his personal robot face off in the final battle. Our idea was that the robot should be a sort of extension of Galaxar. Because of this, the robot has a lot of tentacles. The idea for this fight is that you need to skate through the ring surrounding the extraction chamber and take out one tentacle at a time. Since Ginomica is so strong, it made a lot of sense for her to tear off the tentacles of this gigantic robot one piece at a time. After you beat Galaxar, we wanted to make sure the game finished with a big finale. So once you beat this robot, Galaxar gets really mad and chases you as you try to escape from the mothership. Then, to really end with a big bang, we thought it was time for the mothership to blow up. While there are explosions and the camera's shaking, you need to skate as fast as you can until you reach the end of the mothership. If you play smart, and with a little luck, you can escape before the whole thing blows up into tiny pieces.